get up, let me begin. This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now, because it's the place that it all goes down. Get up, let me begin. This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now, because it's the place that it all goes down.
Shout out Young Swish. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Sit Down Morning Show with Malik Wright. I'm your host, Malik Wright, joined by always my main man, my best friend, 𝗦𝗢𝗢𝗪. A lot of stuff to get into, a lot of stuff to talk about. But before we do, make sure you guys do us a favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on post notifications so you guys never miss when we go live or when we upload content from the TWSN studios. Again, it is Fantasy Football Fridays here at TWSN, so we'll be joined virtually by Steve Bradshaw, Mike O'Hara, as we discuss everything. Also, my guy, Evan Theo Harris, will be here on the show virtually to discuss UFC action and Alex Pereira taking on Jiri Prochazka. There's so much to get into, so much to talk about. Before we do, we want to start over with Mac Jones, Brock Purdy, the San Francisco 49ers, who, against all odds, everybody counting them out, you know, they found a way to defeat the Rams yesterday. It shocked a lot of people, the gutsy performance that Mac Jones put on. And I even tweeted out, Daniel, we're seeing firsthand why Kyle Shanahan coveted Mac Jones before he was overruled in that draft, though. We're seeing firsthand why he wanted Mac Jones to be his guy before they went with Trey Lance. So it brings up a question, right? The San Francisco 49ers offense looks like it's moving under Mac Jones. He's getting so many receivers involved. Even the fullback is getting involved, right? He's getting guys involved, and, you know, he's making defensive coordinators think, because there truly is not just one player he's targeting over and over again. He is spreading the ball around, man. And who knew it took Kyle Shanahan to unlock this part of his game? But do we have a quarterback controversy brewing right before our very own eyes, Daniel? What are your thoughts?
I love this topic, man. And looking at the 49ers, I've got three main points that I learned from this game. Number one, it is extremely rare and it's extremely important that an NFL head coach has a quarterback that they want. It is extremely important. You look at this, you laid it out. It was clear. He wanted Mac Jones. And it didn't work out with Trey Lance. And the reason why I bring this up is so often in the NFL, a head coach gets fired or a team does terrible and a team doesn't work out. And it's because the head coach doesn't have that relationship with the general manager, maybe doesn't have the autonomy to say, hey, here's what I want in the draft, and fully get it. And the reason why that's fully important is because the great NFL teams, a lot of times that quarterback is the one that they want. You look at Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh. There was a real chance where Jim Harbaugh walks into LA and maybe that's not who he wanted, but he came to LA for that reason. He came to LA for that quarterback. And you look at Kyle Shanahan and he's having success with Mac Jones. He is having success. And the question now is, there a controversy? I don't think so. And the reason why is because of the contract. And that is the position that they put themselves in, and that's the truth of the matter. This guy is getting $258 million. They just signed him to an extension, and you would basically put yourself in a shitty position from an organizational standpoint if you move on from Brock Purdy, unless if you trade him. And there is a real possibility that we look at the two players, Mac Jones and Brock Purdy, and they are somewhat comparable. That is the truth. The biggest edge that Brock Purdy definitely has is the mobility. And that is the one thing. Mac Jones is a statue in the pocket. Mac Jones, when you look at all the analytics for the past three games with the Arizona Cardinals, with the New Orleans Saints, and this past week or yesterday, Mac Jones doesn't move. He doesn't. You've got to get him in design rollouts if you want him moving outside of the pocket. But that is something over the course of 17 games, over the course of the next couple seasons, if he were your starter, that's something that rears its ugly head. But Malik, to sit up here and say a guy on a 2-year, $7 million contract is in the conversation to be a starter, that's good on Mac Jones, because I believe he's earned himself in that conversation. He is 3-0 as a starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. And whichever way you slice it, that is winning football. Whatever way you slice it, that is without your number 1 wide receiver. That is without your number 2 wide receiver. That is without your number 1 tight end. This is a team that's doing it with scraps. And that is something Mac Jones deserves his praise for. That was a divisional game. That was a game that came down to the wire, and he went down in overtime as well and drove his team methodically down the field. And he deserves credit for that. So, like I said, Kyle Shanahan, it's clear that this is the archetype that he likes. Jimmy Garoppolo was somebody that, for right or for wrong, he had success with. Jimmy took him to a Super Bowl. And Mac is of that same type of architect. So when I look at a quarterback controversy, if they could potentially find a way to move off of that Brock Purdy contract, I think we could consider this a quarterback controversy. But until that point, I'm fairly confident that the 49ers will look at this and say, hey, when Brock Purdy is healthy, he's probably going to get this job back. But Mac Jones deserves to be in that conversation, because so far this year, Brock Purdy is not impressed. So far this year, through 2 games, Brock Purdy's thrown 4 interceptions. And that is something, to be honest with you, that does not fly as a starting quarterback in the NFL, especially when you look at Mac Jones has thrown 1 interception through 3 games. And it's not only that, the dude has passed the ball 40 times a game. So he's throwing it a ton, taking care of the football, and he's moving the ball methodically down the field. So Mac Jones deserves to be in starting conversations, whether it's with the 49ers or elsewhere, because he's done it in New England. He's done it last year in Jacksonville. He looked good in spurts, and now he looks like a starting caliber quarterback. So if there's a world where the 49ers want to entertain a trade, I think that there's teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers, there's teams like the New Orleans Saints, there's teams like maybe even the Carolina Panthers that need a starting quarterback at some point, and maybe Brock Purdy enters those conversations. So I think that there is definitely a world where this is a quarterback controversy. So
listen, I think that Kyle Shanahan finally gets the girl. You know, he finally gets the person that he coveted. He always wanted. He had high hopes for. He believed in before he was overruled, and now it's all coming together. This is Mac Jones's time to shine, right? And who knew? All it took was Kyle Shanahan and Mac Jones to come together for this thing to really tick. Listen, I think that if McCorkle will continue to get opportunities to prove himself, I think he's going to run away with the starting quarterback job. And yeah, if you're the Niners, you're probably kicking yourself. You're like, damn, really gave this contract to Brock Purdy. But Brock Purdy is proven in this league. Brock Purdy has proven himself. I don't know if he is as proven if he is not on the San Francisco 49ers. So that creates a little bit of controversy for me personally.
Yeah.
Does he look like the same quarterback if he's no longer with Kyle Shanahan? Can he be the same guy when he's not under Kyle Shanahan? And I'm not too sure about that. I'm not too sure if Brock Purdy could be that guy. I don't know if he could be a guy that could work outside of the structure of a Kyle Shanahan offense. It'd be fascinating to watch, right? And it truly will be fascinating. And I think what would help a team that might be interested in a Brock Purdy is maybe getting an assistant from the Niners that has worked with Brock Purdy at some point, so that way the transition is as seamless as possible. You have to figure out what works for Brock Purdy in order to make him a successful quarterback, because for me, he manages the game really well. And guess what? You need that. He is probably one of the elite game managers in the National Football League. And guess what? Damn it, you want your quarterback at some point to manage the game, because maybe if you manage the game, that will result in a lot more wins, right? Yeah. So again, I think that Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. I do believe though that Mac Jones is making a name for himself. And you see the way his teams have come out and just talking about him. Trent Williams saying he's a dog. This is one clip that I wish we had of Mac Jones yesterday, man. He's it was funny actually. A defender, he gets a pass off, a defender hits him, and he like shrugs the head off and stares him down. It was just like everything of guts and just grit that you want to see. The dude was damn near throwing up on the sideline. He put it all out there. He needs to work on his body. I'm serious. The dude is, he's
got a stomach.
He got more than the stomach. He got more than the stomach. He just seems like your old classic quarterback that pounds back beers and throws the ball. But I like Mac Jones, man. It's not just one game either. He's looked good in every performance so far for the most part with the 49ers. And this is why this conversation has started. This was just a breakout one because it was on a national stage. It was at a primetime game and people were watching. So everyone's watching it, but it has not been just one game. When Brock Purdy came in as a starter, he struggled this season. And I honestly believe a lot of that has due to his injury. But it looks like Mac Jones, by far and away, is the best quarterback on the 49ers this year. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. How about Kyren Williams, though, man? Too. I said, one of our guys in the comment section said, Kyren Williams, count your days, man. That was brutal. I was literally saying you couldn't have scripted anything better. I think at one point in that game, the Rams were like plus 1,500 to win, right? And throwing that drive, and then immediately it just shifts, and all you see is the 49ers go to plus 770. I'm like, what? That is crazy. So they gave him every chance in the world to win that game, and they just couldn't find a way. A lot of people. I want to talk about that Sean McVay call really quickly. I know it's not necessarily on the topic, but I appreciate a coach that's willing to go out there, take accountability, and say, hey, you know what, he put his guys in a shitty position. I still believe that that the right call might have been going for it, although I don't necessarily agree with everyone saying, hey, put the ball in Matt Stafford's hands, because Matt Stafford was very spotty last night. He was very, very spotty last night. He had some really, really shitty throws, man. He had missed some wide open guys. He refused sometimes to take the easy target, but also he had a lot of drops too from his guys, man. So for me, it's like, all right, if you put the ball in a Kyren Williams hand, right, whether it be running or passing, let's say from just the passing standpoint, the receiving standpoint, he's had a couple of drops last night. Yep. From the running standpoint, I would have done a run that's a little more creative, right? But then again, that's easy to say from watching from a living room. That's easy to say that. It's easy to say that. But I did appreciate how Sean McVay went out there and he apologized to his guys for putting him in a crappy situation, because a lot of coaches in the National Football League don't do that. And that's what we call accountability. That's what leadership looks like. That is what non-coach speak looks like. So I just wanted to shout that out, Daniel. Is there anything with that?
Yeah, it's undoubtedly you have the guts to go for it. And that is, you have to respect that. We could question the call, and the biggest thing when watching it from the overhead view was, hey, you are relying on 2 wide receivers and a tight end to block 4 guys. So it's those 3 against the 49ers 4. It's probably not the best idea, especially the fact that you gave them the same exact look 2 straight times after the timeouts. So I think that it was for sure the right call to go for it, because what are you going to do? You're going to kick the field goal, and then the same thing that the Packers and Cowboys game, kind of ended, and give the 49ers a chance to end with the ball in their hands. I don't think that that's worth it, especially in a divisional game. You go for it. Probably not the right call, but the 49ers, man, they went out and they took that game. So Kyren Williams, he's also a guy, he's just fine. He's just fine. And the fact that he went out and the fumble killed them. So this was a very fun game, very exciting game. And I think you leave this game, especially if you're the Rams, saying, hey, this was a loss, but we are still top tier contenders. And you look at your head coach and say, hey, that guy took accountability. And at the end of the day, you had the guts to go for it on 4th down 3 with a field goal that you could have settled for, but you went out for the win. And that's something that it will take care of them in the long run. So,
for sure. For sure. Again, if you guys give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content. We greatly appreciate that. Daniel, I know that you wanted to get to your you had some week 4 predictions for awards that you wanted to get to after week 4. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, I think just looking at these awards, this is one of my favorite markets just to look at, because it kind of gives you a good sense of who is performing well, who's doing not. So I can literally just go award by award. Comeback player of the year is super simple for me. Everybody's talking about Christian McCaffrey. Everybody's talking about Daniel Jones. It's Dak Prescott for me. And this is the one I've locked in. I'm solely locked into this. And the reason why is this is a quarterback award. It is. You look at the guys who have won it, whether it's, Joe Burrow's won it twice. This has been a quarterback award for each of the past 4 seasons. And not only that, when people discuss the Daniel Jones narrative, this is a narrative and an award that is injury-based. So it is somebody that returns off of an injury. And Dak Prescott, the numbers he's putting up, leading the NFL in passing yards, leading his team, a team that is, they've got the narrative. You trade away Micah Parsons, you have one of the least talented defenses in the NFL, and your team is still a 2-win team that is pushing towards seriously contender status this year. So for me, this is unquestionably Dak Prescott is going to be the comeback player of the year, barring health. But he's somebody, he has shot up the boards, and he's currently the highest or third highest rated player on the FanDuel draft book or sportsbook right now. Defensive rookie of the year is also very easy for me to read. It's a 2-man race right now. It is Abdul Carter or it's Jihad Campbell. And the reason why it's these two, Abdul Carter is balling out, but he just doesn't have the sacks right now. But when you watch the games, when you watch that Chargers game, he is by far and away the most impactful rookie out of any defensive line. That's over Mason Graham. That's over Mike Green. That's over these other guys who have been drafted at the defensive line position. So Abdul Carter is definitely the favorite to win that, but Jihad Campbell is somebody that is getting slept on. I think that he's on this Eagles defense, and albeit being a rookie, he is having a huge season. He actually had the game-winning interception against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over Baker Mayfield, and he's somebody that nobody's really talking about, but being on the Eagles defense, he's showing himself like a captain, and I believe that he is going to be a guy that could sneak into and potentially win that award. As well as one other guy, Xavier Watts, is somebody nobody's really talking about, but Malik, you were high on him, and he is quietly making a name for himself. He's got 2 interceptions in the past 3 games. He's the best rookie safety, and he has really come on strong so far this season. You're only 4 games in the season, so Xavier Watts has been a stud, and I think he is a dark horse to win that award. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I'll kind of make these quick, but everybody's talking about, obviously, Jackson Dart, and I do think he's going to have a chance to win this award. But for me, a dark horse that I think can still win this award, I think Ted McMillan and Tyler Warren are being slept on. I think these are 2 guys, when you look at Tyler Warren and this Colts offense, he is their chess piece. He is the guy that is getting moved around. He is being used as their wildcat. He's being used as their fullback. He's being used everywhere. And people want to talk about Brock Bowers' career, season last year, the best rookie season out of any tight end. Tyler Warren's got more receiving yards through 4 games than Brock Bowers had last year. So the ability of Tyler Warren to be used in the running game, to be used as a chess piece, I think he is a dark horse to win this award. And once again, I feel like enough people aren't talking about him. So 𝗦𝗥𝗕𝗏𝗏 is the favorite to win that award, and rightfully so. But I think Tyler Warren's going to keep coming on strong, as well as Ted McMillan. He's got the stats right now. He just doesn't have the touchdowns, and he's on a Panthers offense that has been utterly trash. But this is a guy coming down the stretch at the end of this season and through the midway point. I think he's going to keep getting peppered with targets. So I love Ted McMillan. 3 other awards. Offensive Player of the Year, Puka Nacua is the favorite, as we saw yesterday. He's getting peppered with targets, 8 receptions. He's got 3 straight games before that of 100+ receiving yards. But one guy that is really getting under the radar, 2 guys, but you talked about Bijan Robinson. If the Atlanta Falcons can start winning more games, if they can put themselves in a position to win the division, this is Bijan's award to lose. He is currently leading the NFL in all-purpose yards as a running back. And it's very quiet because it doesn't seem like people are talking about it, but he has 3 games of 70+ receiving yards as a running back. He is the all-purpose weapon for the Falcons. And when you look at this award, a lot of times it goes to the player that doesn't have a whole lot going on their offense. And Bijan Robinson is the engine to the Atlanta Falcons offense. So I'm a big fan of Bijan Robinson in this award category. Defensive Player of the Year, I've got 1 favorite and I've got 1 dark horse. For me, it's Aiden Hutchinson. I think he is the guy. He's got all the makings of not only being on a winning team, not only being on a team, when you look at the upcoming schedule, facing some very poor offensive lines outside of obviously the Cincinnati Bengals, but following that, he's got 3 straight games of favorable matchups. He's got the narrative on his side, right? He's coming back from injury. And when you look at the film and you look at the highlights as well, there's been clips circulating of 3 guys blocking him. He forced a fumble on Joe Flacco. He's having these game-changing plays. And not only that, but he's currently the highest rated NFL edge rusher in pressures outside of one guy that is a dark horse. Brian Burns, Malik, is not getting his respect.
No, not at all.
Like, he is probably not going to win this award because the Giants aren't very good, but he is quietly and should be one of the favorites for this award. Right now, when I look at his odds, he's plus 4,000, but this is the guy leading the NFL in sacks. This is a guy who's top 3 in the NFL in pressures. This is a guy who is looking like a superstar pass rusher, but he's not getting the respect of being on the same category as Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, and Aiden Hutchinson. So, like I said, I think he is a guy that isn't getting enough respect for this award. But if I had to bet, I think it's going to be Aiden Hutchinson. But Brian Burns at plus 4,000, if the Giants can start winning games, he is undoubtedly going to be in that conversation. And the final one, MVP, it's Josh Allen right now. And I don't know if I can look at another player and say I'm as confident, just because looking at the schedule and looking at this award, this is the award that goes to the player that also is on a 13 to 14 to 15 win team. And that is going to be the Buffalo Bills. Their win total right now is 13.5. When you look at their schedule, it's a cakewalk schedule. They've got the Jets, they've got the Miami Dolphins. And if they can get past the New England Patriots this week, they are in for a very, very good season. And at the end of the day, the rest of the competition, their teams just aren't doing well. Lamar Jackson is 1-3. The Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes is 2-2. The only other two guys that I would consider in this conversation is Justin Herbert and Jordan Love. Those are the only two guys I think have a realistic shot of getting to that 13-win season and having the narrative. So if you want to look at other guys outside of Josh Allen, I think Herbert and Jordan Love. But looking at Love, I think he had his chance to make an MVP statement. The fact that they tied that game against the Cowboys kind of hurts his statement. But the only other guy, like I said, if Justin Herbert, they win the division, they take over the Kansas City Chiefs, I would probably go Justin Herbert as a dark horse. But I know went a little long.
No, that's fine. Anytime Daniel talks more on the show, it's a good thing. Again, we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content. Remember, Sit Down Morning Show is live every single Monday, Thursday, and Friday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And we have State of the Jungle, which is live on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. And we do the Bengals recap show directly right after the game, which you guys can check. But also, every few weeks or so, we have our sit down interviews, one-on-one exclusive interviews with players. This week's sit down interview will be airing tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It was a one-on-one exclusive interview with Bengals defensive end Shamar Stewart. He talked about his love for the game. He talked about teams who passed up on him in high school, promised to sign him. We talked about teams who promised to draft him, and it all led him here to Cincinnati, man. And he's excited to be here. He's excited to be involved in the community. Marissa, roll the clip.
People always say it's not one person that raised a kid, it's a village. And I had a lot of great men in my life, my mom, my family. They always stuck with me throughout the highs and lows, everything in between. You know, it took a village to get me to this point. People back home believed in me way before I even believed in myself. And I feel like that really thrusted me into the position I am today.
Shamar Stewart is an absolute game wrecker. He's a game changer. Don't look at the stat sheet. When you turn on the tape, it speaks for itself. You could put him anywhere on the defensive line. So I got to give respect where respect is due.
No matter how many people doubt you, no matter how many people don't believe in your dream, no matter how many people say your dream is outrageous, it's your dream. It's your right to chase your dream, no matter how far or how short it's going to take you. You will never know if you never take a shot. So always believe in yourself, always bet on yourself. Because you're the only person that's going to have you at the end of the day.
How does Shamar Stewart define success? Like when it's all said and done, 20 years, you hang up your cleats, you're done playing football. What would you look back on and consider yourself having a successful career?
Man.
Fantasy Football Fridays are here at TWSN, and it would not be a Fantasy Football Friday if we did not have the law firm O'Hara and Bradshaw joining us live virtually for today's show to talk about their favorite starts and sits. So without further ado, let's bring in Mike, let's bring in Steve. What's going on, guys? How we doing?
Good morning, man. How you doing?
I'm good. You know, Bengals are struggling right now, but I'm not. So it's all good. It's all good. What's going on, Steve? How we doing? You're muted.
Okay. Am I good now?
Oh, Steve already starting off the morning with an error. Look at this guy.
Rough. Anyway, I was saying I'm doing good besides that because I'm a Kyren Williams fantasy manager and not a Rams fan. So that game was great for me. He had 30 points. But, good vibes right now.
Yeah, I'm sure the vibes are extremely high. Listen, I'm doing good. I won 25,000 last night betting on freaking Kyle Juszczyk, Jake Tongs, and who was the other? Kyren Williams, actually. So I'm sitting a little pretty right now. But listen, it's Fantasy Football Fridays. Nobody wants to hear from me. Daniel, the floor is yours.
All right. So as you guys know, this is how we do it, right? Drop you guys questions down below. Let's get to 2 starts each, 1 sit. We'll get to everybody's questions down below. We'll start with Steve. Who's your guy this week? Who's someone that you're throwing into lineups? He's got a great matchup. Who's your favorite start of the week?
Yeah, one guy that I really like that I think people are still going to be hesitant on because the points weren't quite there last week is Chris Godwin. First game back. I believe he only had like 5.6 points because he only had 3 catches, but he had 10 targets in his very first game back. Mike Evans is still out. Onyeka Egbuka is, obviously a great player, but he's, not necessarily going to siphon all the targets as shown last week. And the matchup is solid as well. The Bucs are actually 3-point underdogs against the Seahawks with an over-under of 44.5. So I think they should be in a position to throw the ball a decent bit on top of the fact that Bucky Irving is out as well. So they're more likely to lean on the passing game when you have Rachaad White, who's obviously not a very efficient back. So Chris Godwin, we know how good he was last year. And I think saying that he was a good player last year is also an understatement. Yes, should we expect him to be – he was a wide receiver too before he went down. Should we expect that? No. But I think that having him as a flex play based on where you drafted him is exactly what you should kind of expect starting this week.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see how he keeps returning from an injury, but I agree the fact that he got 10 targets that's a goal of mine for fantasy owners. So, Mike, give me your favorite start of the week.
Yeah, I think Godwin is a worthwhile start. I think it's just particularly encouraging that he wasn't limited in terms of his routes in his first game back. So you drafted him as a bench stash in hopes that he could come back and be a wide receiver 2 flex like Steve mentioned. And I think his role in week 1 pretty clearly indicates that that's what you're going to be getting. It remains to be seen how quickly he shakes off that rust. But everything we saw last week, I think, makes him a worthwhile start. But I'm going to keep rolling with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here. I think with Bucky Irving out, you just jam Rachaad White into your lineup basically no matter what. I mean, obviously there are some people out there who are going to have a juggernaut running back room, but in the flex as your RB2, there's not really a whole lot that needs to be said here. I know everyone loves to hate on Rachaad White. At least fantasy people love to hate on Rachaad White just because of how inefficient he is as a rusher, but it really doesn't matter when you're realistically going to be playing upwards of 75% of the snaps. You're going to soak up all the receiving work out of the backfield. It doesn't matter when you're projecting for this kind of workload, what the matchup looks like, what your efficiency metrics look like. This is just a guy that you get in your lineup. And I do really think that the matchup against the Seahawks could play to Rachaad White's strengths. We know how quickly this Seahawks front 7 can generate pressure, and honestly, it's really their front 4. They don't really ever bring blitzes, or they do it at an incredibly low rate. So, but they still get to the quarterback, and I think that can lead to some extra dump offs for Rachaad White. So, anyway you slice it, unless you just really, really have a strong running back room, this is a guy who's going to get you there in PPR leagues, given his pass catching prowess.
Totally agree. I think, and we'll talk about it later, but target monster this week. Target monster.
Absolutely.
Steve, who's your number 2 favorite start of the week for fantasy football?
Yeah, this is a little bit, so I'll try and go a bit deeper in these leagues. I honestly don't hate playing Darren Waller this week. And I know that sounds crazy. He had a big game last week, right? It was 2 touchdowns though, so that's very volatile. But I don't really see a reason why that he can't score another touchdown this week. Again, this was his first game back in years, and he looked really good. Those catches that he made, 4 touchdowns, weren't just he got schemed up wide open, especially the first one. Like, these were tough catches that he made. And now that Tyreek Hill is gone, you have Malik Washington, who I think is a fine player, but when you get to the red zone, Jalen Waddle's not necessarily a very physical guy. They really don't have many options. Devon Achane is also on the ground, not a physical option. Ollie Gordon is physical, but he's not as good of a player. So when you're looking for that low tight end one, I think this is kind of in the same nature as like the Noah Fant conversation we had. You're looking for a low end tight end one. Look for a guy that could possibly score a touchdown. The over-under for this game isn't too bad either, 44.5. It should actually be a relatively close game, so I think that kind of factors in the Dolphins being able to score points. Given that they're playing the Panthers, they're actually 1.5-point favorites. So I don't mind throwing Waller in my lineup, especially because even though he only had 4 targets last week, you expect him to get more involved. If you can just bump that up to like 5, 6 with the chance to have a receiving touchdown given the red zone role, I think that's definitely worthwhile putting in your tight end spot as a, stash or fill in this week.
For sure. And like you said, the dude looked good. Like he looked good running his routes and he looks good for being 33 years old. Mike, give me your second favorite start and we'll get to a question after this.
Yeah, my second guy is another one who has caught a lot of flack from fantasy managers in the last couple of years, but I do still think he's a worthwhile play, and it's Wan'Dale Robinson. In the wake of the Malik Neighbors injury, I just do think that he is going to take on a valuable role in PPR leagues. Last week, he was tied for the team lead in target share. He ran a full complement of routes. I believe his route share was 90%. So he's going to be on the field basically for every passing down. And the numbers weren't really there. His target share only translated to 5 total targets last week. But what we saw from the Giants last week, I think, is completely unsustainable. They had a sub 40% pass rate last week against the Los Angeles Chargers. Obviously, I think that they're going to be a run-heavy team, given that Neighbors is no longer in the picture and that they have a rookie quarterback under center. But passing for 39% of your plays, or only 39% of your plays, just isn't going to happen in the NFL over the course of the long run. They do have a matchup where they should be able to run the ball for the most part in the New Orleans Saints this week. But still, I mean, even in this matchup, I don't expect them to be throwing the ball less than 40% of the time. And on top of that, the Saints pass defense has been wildly inefficient, and you can just pick them apart any way you see fit. So I expect Jackson Dart to be conducting and commanding a competent passing attack this week. And I do think that Wan'Dale Robinson is the favorite to lead in targets on this team. He's going to be operating for the most part in that shallow and intermediate part of the field. But as long as he can soak up at least 8 targets, which he's done 10 times dating back to the beginning of last season, as long as he can get that volume, you're going to be just fine in PPR leagues.
And just to your point, the Giants are still underdogs in this game, surprisingly. Yep. Surprisingly, against the Saints, they are underdogs. So that kind of goes to your narrative. Before we get to sits, BBD poster said, Mike, and this goes to both of you guys, how do you guys feel about the Jordan Addison breakout game from fantasy football?
Yeah, it was pretty encouraging. I mean, obviously, Wentz looked like a pumpkin back there in London or Dublin. It was just taking egregious sacks and all that. And obviously, like Chris Godwin, we were talking about, very evident that the rust was still there. I mean, you saw on that long bomb that should have been a touchdown. I mean, like he almost falls over when he catches the ball. He can't even stay on his feet barely when he's running down the sideline, and he gets caught by a linebacker, albeit one of the fastest linebackers in the league in Peyton Wilson. But still, it's pretty encouraging stuff that you see him getting involved early and often. Like I said, similar to Chris Godwin, I mean, there was no training wheels on Jordan Addison in his first game back. He ran just about every single route that was possible. So I think it's basically just going to be exactly what we saw last year. I mean, it's going to be volatile, but you know that he's one of the league's premier downfield weapons. He can generate explosive plays. And the fact that in tandem, Addison and Justin Jefferson working together, I mean, they both just create for each other, open things up for each other. So I just don't think that your perception of what Jordan Addison is going to be in 2025 should be really any different than what we saw in 2024. You're going to get some big days. There's going to be some disappointing days, but a real flex option week to week.
Love it. Love it. let's go to you guys' sits. Who's somebody? Let's get a little negative on this side. Steve, who's a guy that you are totally against starting this week, or you think just has a brutal matchup?
Yeah, it is. I don't know if I said this last week, but it is time to sit 𝗦𝗦𝗔𝗚𝗏𝗧𝗏. There's really no reason to be starting him anymore. If he hadn't been picked, in the second, third round, no one would be starting him. And, the case is, okay, things have to get better as the season goes on. That's kind of an easy narrative to spin. I was actually looking into it, and 𝗦𝗦𝗔𝗏𝗧𝗏 has gotten worse in terms of his fantasy points every single week of the year. He just had 2.1 fantasy points. Why would I be starting that guy in my fantasy lineup? Quentin Johnston, for as many jokes as we make, he is the wide receiver 1. He is a former first-round pick. The breakout is here. He looks for real. And Keenan Allen and Ladd just play the same role, but Keenan Allen is still playing good football. He has way more chemistry with Justin Herbert, and he is out-targeting 𝗦𝗦𝗔𝗏𝗧𝗏 in that same role. So it's just not getting any better. The matchup is fine. It's a pretty high-scoring game projected to be 47.5 over/under, which if you want to hang your hat on that, you can. The Chargers are also 2.5-point favorites, so they might favor the run a little bit more, but not going to be too drastic either way. But 𝗦𝗦𝗔𝗏𝗧𝗏, you just gotta sit him until he proves it. And I would honestly argue multiple weeks in a row because he has, you want to just say upside because he's a good player, but there's nothing that would indicate that he is a even startable player anytime soon.
Steve's off the 𝗦𝗦𝗔𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 train right now. All right, man. All right. Mike, who you got?
Yeah, I'm going the other end of the spectrum. Steve goes with kind of a marquee name, but I'm going with one that people might be considering in some deeper leagues as kind of just a grittier start. But I don't think that you can be starting Malik Washington in the wake of the Tyreek Hill.
I don't want to hear this.
Yeah, so
you can't start me. You always start me. You always start me. You know what I'm on.
But I understand why people are excited about Malik Washington. Obviously, the door's open for him to get more opportunity. I just don't really think it's coming. Malik Washington, he's kind of that gadgety type of guy. We see he's an athlete. He can generate yards after the catch. You understand why Mike McDaniel wants to get the ball into his hands. He can make defenders miss. He can just do things with the ball in his hands. And we've seen Mike McDaniel do that. I believe 5 of his 15 targets this season have come on designed looks, plays just drawn up for him. But I just don't really see the opportunity increasing. All but 3 of Malik Washington's routes this year have come in 11 personnel because the fact of the matter is that he's just not really a complete NFL wide receiver. The Miami Dolphins use 2 wide receiver sets on about half of their plays so far this season. I don't see that number jumping up without Tyreek Hill in the mix. And Malik Washington doesn't play in those 2 wide receiver sets because he doesn't have a full route tree. He's that kind of gadgety guy, like I mentioned. He's soaking up targets in the underneath portion of the field. And I think that his path to targets when he's actually on the field is easier just because Tyreek Hill's not on the field. I mean, he's competing with probably it's going to be like 𝗦𝗦𝗡𝗦𝗡 as the 3rd wide receiver in 3 wide receiver sets. But still, I just don't see him playing in those 2 receiver sets. So I don't think that his route participation, his snap share are going to spike. So you're really just banking on him earning more targets at a higher rate when he's actually on the field. But I just don't see things dramatically changing in his overall role, his overall usage in this offense, just given his limited skill set. That could be the wrong read, but I just don't think he's a complete enough receiver for Mike McDaniel to justify having him on the field all the time.
No, man. I think if you want to also point to, as soon as Tyreek Hill went down, didn't really do much. It was 𝗦𝗦𝗡𝗦𝗡. So I'm totally with you. Is there any other guys you want to shout out real quick before we move over past the fantasy football segment?
Steve, you got anyone?
Sit Zay Flowers this week with no Lamar. If you have to put him in your flex, you can do it. But the first few weeks, I felt like we're a bit of an outlier. If you look back at the first 2 seasons, he's averaged less than 13 points per game. And it's just simply that Zay Flowers is a fine player, but he's never going to be a locked-in wide receiver 1 for 1. Maybe he'll be a wide receiver 2. And again, if you want to start him in your flex, like that's fine. But if you're deciding between a Chris Godwin with a solid matchup, who is a lot of things going for him situation wise, versus Zay Flowers, who hasn't been phenomenal, a stud that you need to start even when his quarterback is gone. I think that's a place where you're gonna sit him if you can afford to.
All right.
Was that all the questions we got to?
Yeah. And I was just looking down below. I mean, besides that, that was pretty much it. I mean, Iron Man has a question about Kansas City wide receiver Thornton. Would you guys start Tyquan Thornton this week?
Absolutely not. His only value came in the fact that he was getting those downfield looks. Like it was just a high variance. Hope he caught a long one and ran it in for a touchdown play, but expect all of those routes to be handed right back to Xavier Worthy now. No really questions in his return. Obviously, you're kind of wincing every single time he gets tackled and hopes he doesn't come down wrong on that shoulder. But for the most part, yeah, Tyquan Thornton's fantasy value has evaporated with Xavier Worthy's return.
There goes Mike again. He never is in the middle with something. It's always really, this is really bad or really good.
What's his term? Dust ball?
Dust ball. When he call people dust ball. I can't wait for the day where he calls some receivers I love dust balls. You know what's so funny? I found this very interesting. You know who's one of the most highly targeted tight ends in the National Football League this year?
I know where this is going.
I'm just saying, I told people. Nobody listens to Malik, though. And he's back this week. And I have a funny feeling he is going to get majority of the Bengals targets, more so than Jamar, more so than T. Higgins. I think Noah Fant's going to eat this week. I don't think the Bengals are going to win, but I do think that he's going to eat this week. And,
I hope they get him more snaps.
Huh?
I hope they get him more snaps.
He outsnaps their tight end, Mike Gesicki, who they gave a 3-year extension to. So that stands for anything. I think that he will do just fine. Remember, he didn't play last week because he had a concussion. So that's the reason why he didn't get snaps. But I think that he's gonna have a good game. I really believe that. And if my track record serves me, I think I'm gonna be putting a little coin on that. So we'll see exactly what happens. Listen, guys, we appreciate you guys for spending your Fridays with us, man. We appreciate Mike, Steve, for joining us for Fantasy Football Fridays. As I always ask y'all before I let you guys head out of here, how are your fantasy football teams doing?
Anywhere from 1-3 to 4-0. A couple of juggernauts in there. A lot of waiting on Rashee Rice, as I've said a couple of times on this show. So hopefully we can get rolling here week 7.
Keep waiting. What about you, Steve?
Pretty good in my home league now. The CeeDee Lamb injury, Chase Brown getting decimated by the Joe Burrow injury really screwed me, but Chase Brown I finally was able to trade him away yesterday. And no, I'm sorry, Malik, but I am so glad that I never have to watch him play football again this year.
I told y'all this. Like, I told everybody who would listen, I was waiting to see the hype on Chase Brown. I didn't see where it was coming from. I think that there are a lot of issues with the Bengals, and some will just say it's the offensive line. It's the offensive line. I've seen other running backs have success with far less talent. I'm actually wondering at what point do you start giving Taj Brooks touches?
Yeah, no, to be fair, though, like my take on Brown was more so very fantasy versus NFL because I thought the Bengals offense would be very good so he can get those touchdowns. And also PPR leagues, he's still a good receiving back. So sure. Even though he's not efficient, that was more so where I was coming from. And the Joe Burrow injury just out the window.
Depleted things, yeah.
Who'd you trade him for?
Made some trades. I traded let me see if I can pull it up. I traded for Kyren Williams, actually.
You said what?
I traded for Kyren Williams in a pretty big deal.
All right.
It was. I'm trying to find the Chase Brown. I also traded for. When I traded for Tyler Warren. I traded Chase Brown for Tyler Warren and Rashid Shaheed.
Not bad. Tyler Warren as your tight end. I think that's definitely a win there.
Yeah.
But
I like
Chase Brown's been a little rough fantasy wise this year, and that's an understatement. So
yeah. Well, listen, Mike and Steve, best of luck to your teams. Best of luck to your actual football teams as well. Because you know what? it's a long season still ahead of us. A lot of stuff to get into. We appreciate y'all for spending your Fridays with us, and I'll be texting you guys.
See you guys.
Thanks
See
for
ya.
having me.
Appreciate you. That was Mike and Steve Bradshaw, again, the law firm here for Fantasy Football Fridays here at TWSN. Again, if you guys do us a favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or when we upload content from the TWSN studios. We're going to get to our UFC talk because our guy Evan is in the back, but before we do that, we're going to let's give some of our favorite bets, Daniel, for NFL before we get to the Lions Bengals thoughts. What are some of your favorite bets for this week?
Absolutely love this week's slate. And once again, as you said, you had a nice little parlay you cashed. If you guys want more of that, just go down to the Patreon down below. Go check it out. But there's a ton of games I think that there's a ton of value. First off, kind of what Mike was touching on, Rachaad White. And for me, what I've learned and one of my favorite ways to bet is to go after injury replacements. We saw that yesterday, right? Ricky Pearsall out, Jawan Jennings out. So who's going to go in there? Take those targets. It was Kendrick Bourne. The dude had 10 receptions. And that's not every single game, but that's some of my philosophies. Hey, who's going to take his targets and also who's going to go the other way? Bucky Irving is out for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that means Rachaad White is getting a ton of love. Rachaad White, I'm looking at his receiving props because I think that that is the way to go about this. I think that the Seattle Seahawks have a phenomenal defensive line, but that's going to mean more dump offs. And we saw Bucky Irving had 80 receiving yards last week. He had 70, 80. He had a long run for a touchdown. Rachaad White's receiving yards is at 20 and a half. 20 and a half. That is far too low. And if you think that's a little too high, his receptions at 3.5 is something I absolutely love, because if there's any other chance that another running back's going to play, it's Sean Tucker. But Sean Tucker is more the guy that's going to be the between the tackles guy. He is going to be utilized as a runner versus Rachaad White is their preferred third down back. So for me to see him at 3.5 receptions is definitely one of the props that I'm staring at, because like I said, no Bucky Irving. This dude's seeing 75% of the snaps. I absolutely love that. The Minnesota Vikings against the Cleveland Browns. We got another game over the seas. I'm fading a play. I'm fading Jordan Mason. And this is one of my favorite plays of the entire week. Jordan Mason's rushing yards is at 66.5. And I understand he's the running back one for the Vikings. I understand there is no Aaron Jones, but who are you facing? You are facing the Cleveland Browns. You are facing the best rushing defense in the entire league. And out of every 4 game that they've, played this year, there's only one running back they allowed over this mark, and that was Jahmyr Gibbs. And Jahmyr Gibbs is on an offense that is far better than the Vikings. He's got an offensive line that is far better than the Vikings. And they've got a passing attack that is much more threatening than the Minnesota Vikings is. So the Cleveland Browns with Mason Graham, Malik Collins, Myles Garrett, Carson Schwarzenegger, who's an elite downhill running back. This is one of the best rushing defenses in the league, and I'm fading the hell out of Jordan Mason. 66.5 is one of my favorite plays of the week. Give me his under, and I feel like we're going to be very confident on an early game. You got 9 a.m. Eastern, win a little cash on that game, and like I said, I'm very, very confident the Browns defense sticks up and shuts Jordan Mason down for this game. Looking at the Giants versus Saints, I think that there's another big opportunity.
Don't take
Don't
him.
do it. Don't
take him. Are you about to take my guy?
I don't know if I was going to. Was it Dart?
Okay,
No, I was going Dart. Jackson Dart, once again, the way I'm playing this, I'm looking at his legs, man. I think that obviously last week he was kind of thrust into the role and he had to utilize his legs more, but a little sprinkle, him to score a touchdown, man, is you got plus 210. And I think that is a walk in the park for a guy who struggled as a passer last week and a guy who relied on his legs. And I understand he's a little banged up, but looking at him to score a touchdown in his over rushing yards, 36.5, is something I absolutely love. So like I said, I think it's super simple. The avenue that bet really goes is because he's not a great passer right now. And when the play breaks down, a ton of times these rookie quarterbacks, they rely on what has gotten them there. And his legs are a huge, huge weapon. We saw it with many rookie running or quarterbacks with Lamar Jackson, so many of these other rookie quarterbacks, their first 2 to 3 games, they scramble a lot. So 36.5 rushing yards and him to score a touchdown is something I love. One other one that I'm a major fan of, it's 𝗦𝗡𝗢𝗡𝗧. Like, this guy is a stud. This guy is the Miami Dolphins offense. And you look at what head coach Mike McDaniel said. He said, and rightfully so, A-Chain made some plays on that game last week that I've never seen in the NFL. And while that may be a little bit of a stretch, this dude is absurd with the ball in his hands. And you're looking at him to score a touchdown. You can get me -125 on DraftKings. What are we talking about? This guy is an all-purpose running back. This guy is used in the pass. He's used in the dump offs. He's used in the rushing game. He's going to get 17 to 18 touches, and him to score a touchdown against the Panthers defense. Like, what are we talking about? This is a guy, he's going to be on the field, so you're going to get your opportunities. And I'm a very, very big fan of him. I've been this entire year, and him to score a touchdown is something I absolutely love. One other one, if I'm looking at Tennessee Titans versus the Cardinals game, this is a weird game. This is a grimy game, but this is a get-right game for the Arizona Cardinals offense. This is super simple again, but Marvin Harrison Jr. has been bashed. He has been criticized, and rightfully so, but he has seen targets. He's seen the opportunity. And for me, if I'm betting, I love opportunity. He had 7 targets last game. I believe he had 8 the game before that. If you're giving me his over receiving yards at 54.5 on FanDuel, I think that's a walk in the park. We've seen him. He's getting the targets deep. He's getting the targets in the red zone. He is getting the targets. He just hasn't fully converted. But this is a game. This is a layup matchup against the Titans secondary. So Marvin Harrison Jr., I am a massive fan of this week. And I think he's going to go out and make you some money if you choose to bet on him. So, yeah.
So you cooked.
Appreciate
You cooked. So I appreciate you cooking. I'm going to cook a little bit. I'm going to go with the crayon eater. That's who I like this week. You don't know who I'm talking about, do you? 𝗕𝗘𝗧𝗏. I like him. I think he scores a touchdown. I like him over 2.5 receptions. Didn't love the way that the Giants used him in the receiving game last week, albeit Jackson Dart start. He was excited, probably looking to get other guys involved. With no Malik Neighbors, you're going to have to rely on your weapons. And guess what? That is 𝗕𝗘𝗧𝗏. You got kids even making like little skits about them. It was kind of great. Some stuff I saw. This pains me to say it, but Sam Laporta over 3.5 receptions. Sam Laporta's going to get on track against the Bengals this week. But I also expect the Bengals to force feed Ja'Marr Chase. I think they're going to try to get him involved early and often. I love the Ja'Marr Chase over 6.5 receptions. I'd take that. I think he just hits that mark, maybe 7 or 8 catches I think he gets on Sunday. I think Justin Fields scores a touchdown at any point against the Dallas Cowboys. But I'm going to give you a play, guys, that I absolutely love. It is hit in every single game this man has played against the New England Patriots. He's gotten 8 targets. He's gotten 7 targets. And 7 targets the last 2 times he faced them. But Dalton Kincaid over 3.5 receptions. I love this play against the New England Patriots. And if you're looking for something that's going to win you some money, bring you home, that is something that I am rolling the dice on. So again, if you want all of our picks, all of our plays, subscribe to the TWS and Patreon or the website betting service. It's the same exact plays that you are getting on the Patreon. Patreon just a little bit easier to navigate, so I've been told. So again, subscribe to the TWS and Patreon again, because, you know, we're really, really excited about this. Also, you spoke, we listened. People talked about merch. People said, hey, can we get merch for State of the Jungle? Can we get merch for the Sit Down? Can we do all that? We've officially done that. We've gone out and done that, partner with one of our many resources. And guess what? Now we have something really, really awesome happening. State of the Jungle merch, TWSN merch, and Sit Down merch. So again, we appreciate all of your support. It is now available. It is also down in the description. We really should have a QR code, honestly, at this point for you guys, so you could easily scan it. But again, if you would like to rock any of the gear, feel free to do so. Daniel, let's talk Bengals versus Lions. Make this brief before we get to our UFC talk. Do the Bengals have a chance to upset the Detroit Lions? Because my thoughts are, I think they have a chance to maybe score a touchdown. And that's not me being facetious. That's something that they didn't do last week. I think they have a chance for the offense to find not a rhythm, but a rhythm. I think they have a chance to do that. But man, it's going to be a lot to ask of this Bengals team to knock off this red hot Detroit Lions team. But again, this could be a perfect letdown spot for the Lions as well. So it's weird to talking about us as if we're a team that could let another team down. But maybe this is the game where Jake Browning figures it out. I have no idea. I just know that I have a lot of respect for that Detroit Lions defensive line. That offensive line is an impenetrable force. You're going to have to find a way to get pressure. Or if you sit back and you let Jared Goff sit in a pretty pocket, he's going to find a way to dice you up. That's just the way I feel about this game. What are your thoughts, Daniel?
Yeah, man. I got no faith that the Bengals will win this game. I think that they can make it competitive, and the pathway to do that is force Jared Goff into uncomfortable positions, and that's something Al Golden doesn't blitz a lot. You've got to. You have to. You've got to do something. You've got to bring the pressure. And at the end of the day, you've got to rely on your cornerbacks. That's how you win this game. You're going to have to play some one-on-one. You're going to have to allow Josh Newton, Dax Hill to play on Amon-Ra St. Brown. You're going to have in the red zone when they go out and throw Isaac Tesla, 6'4" wide receiver. You're going to have to rely on your cornerback one-on-one, because the way to beat the Lions is to force Jared Goff in uncomfortable positions. There's a pathway, and the real pathway that the Bengals are competitive in this game is the game starts out and whether the Bengals score quick or they come out and they fluster Jared Goff. We've seen it time and time again. Like, oh, Jared Goff throws a pick. Oh, hold on. Let me sit up in my seat. Let's see where's this game going to go. But if you don't do that, it is going to be a very long day, extremely long day, because this is a team, they don't go away from the run. When they're down, they're still running the ball. I just don't know if they've got the dogs to play with them for 4 quarters right now. I don't think that they've got the offensive firepower to do it. And that's my biggest concern, because when you got this Lions offense that is going to score points, whether Jared Goff struggles at the beginning or not, they're going to put up points. And I just don't know if the Cincinnati Bengals offense is going to be able to match the firepower that Detroit Lions can. But like I said, the way and the pathway to do it is you have to fluster Jared Goff. And if you think the Bengals are going to be somewhat competitive, take Jared Goff to throw an interception.
I think that could happen. I think that could happen for sure. And I think at the end of the day, this is going to be your classic backs against the wall. Nobody believes in this mentality. You hear about guys like Jamar Chase stepping up in the locker room, being more of a leader, being vocal, talking to players, being locked in. Friends with several players on the team, and it definitely feels that way as well this week. We'll see what happens. We'll see if it all can kind of come together. We'll see. Again, if you guys could do us a favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content. Listen, it is not. It wouldn't be a Friday, and it wouldn't be. Somebody said, "Can you guys give Calvin Ridley some hate?"
He's been rough, man.
Man, it's so funny when he signed that contract. A lot of people said he wasn't worth it, and they felt like there was a little bit of a desperation attempt on the Tennessee Titans standpoint when they did that. But listen, we got UFC 320 taking place this week. We've got Alex Pereira taking on champion 𝗦𝗡𝗎𝗓, as they call him, Big Onk. And it would not be UFC discussion if I didn't bring my good buddy in, Evan Theo Harris, lead TWS and journalist. What's going on, Ev? What's going on, brother?
How we doing, Malik?
I'm doing good, man. You ready for some Big Onk action?
I am pumped for this card.
Man,
it's been 6 weeks since we've got a pay-per-view.
Yeah, man. I already know where you kind of stand on it, because I kind of did a little sneak peek at your predictions that you can catch on TWSN.net. Evan gives all his predictions for the main card and the prelims. But I want to talk about this, man. What are some of your best bets, Evan, for the card? Let's get into it.
Man, I was looking at this card top to bottom, and it's not my favorite bettable card, honestly. There's just a lot of wide lines on this card. There's a couple upset picks that I think are kind of sneaky in this one.
Okay.
Both of them on the prelims.
Talk to me.
I like Yana Santos to pull off the upset over Macy Chiasson.
Okay.
At around plus 155.
By decision, of course.
By decision, of course, yes.
Okay.
But it seems like Macy Chiasson, she tends to lose fights where her opponent can make it as physical as she can. And that seems to be the style that Yana Santos goes out there and does. She kind of tricks you a little bit. She likes to pretend that she's like a volume kickboxer, and then she'll clinch you about 2 minutes into the fight and try and take you down, which is honestly not how Macy Chiasson does not do well in those kind of fights unless she's the one dictating that kind of fight. I think Santos is going to bring that to her. I mean, this could easily just be a 29-28 split decision that goes either way, but the value in this fight is on Yana Santos.
Okay.
And my other upset pick, I've got 𝗬𝗙 Yu to defeat Daniel Santos this weekend. I like Daniel. Not a fan of that one.
Well, that's interesting. It's interesting. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
I like Daniel Santos. I think he's a good fighter. I think I'm just really high on 𝗬𝗙 Yu. What really steered me in the direction of 𝗬𝗙 Yu is that normally the guys that end up getting like fraud checked on their way up the ladder are guys who honestly have just like steamrolled their way through the regional scene. They win all in first round, and then somebody's able to hang through it and finish them off later in a fight.
Yeah.
When I look through 𝗬𝗙 Yu's record, he's actually gotten the fight to go to the scorecards a few times throughout his regional career. He's shown that he's had a good gas tank. He's shown that he's not incredibly easy to take down. I think this is going to be a war, but I really like 𝗬𝗙 Yu, and I definitely think he has more power than Santos. I think he's going to have bigger moments, and I think that'll just edge out a decision for him at +120 for money line on him.
Oh man, I don't know if I agree with that. I think listen, I hear where you're coming from. I just think that 𝗬𝗙 Yu is largely untested in there. He his last fight he fought a guy who was who really is not UFC caliber at all, to be quite completely honest with you. I just think Daniel Santos, we've seen him in these fights. I do have questions about his cardio, but his dominant moments are really dominant. He's really he's always on the attack in there, and we obviously know he trains with the Bronx team, right? Is it the Bronx team he trains with?
Yeah.
I just think he's gonna find a way to make this gritty, and I just don't know if 𝗬𝗙 Yu is gonna be able to win a style of fight that heavily is going to be dictated by what Daniel Santos does in there. I just don't know if you're constantly on the defense. At what point will you break? At what point will you no longer be able to get your offense going? And how does that look on the judge's scorecard? What I do think could happen is I think Daniel Santos could dominate the first round if he doesn't get him out of there the first, even the second round. And I do think 𝗬𝗙 Yu can come on strong in the third round, but will it be enough? And I don't think it will be at that point when you get beat up, when you get violated and just absolutely just the broken in there, the will taken out of you in there. I just don't know if 𝗬𝗙 Yu has been in a type of fight like that, a style fight like that, with the pressure that Daniel Santos, we know what he brings. We know how he's coming. I honestly, you know what, Evan, I'm going to go against you on this one, man. It wouldn't shock me because I do think that it's a little risky. Obviously, if you're talking about, okay, the decision, I never loved that for Daniel Santos, but for double chance in this, man, what if Daniel Santos wins this fight by KO or submission? I could see him finding the sub. I could see him hurting him and then taking his back and in rear naked choke. I could totally see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Santos has a clear path to victory, it'll be on the ground by submission. Yeah. If you're going to sprinkle
or
on
TKO.
A finish, TKO, I think submission would be the way I'd go if I'm going to pick him, just because that's the most untested spot for you is his grappling defense.
Yeah.
I feel like, especially on the feet, I think he's got a good shot, but I'm willing to bet that he can stand up, keep this one up. And I just think that power is going to take him over the line in this one.
Okay. A couple things I want to touch on. I don't know if I really love Punahele Soriano being a -300. What are your thoughts on that?
I have Punahele Soriano in this fight. It's just, I think there's a big gap between him and 𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗪 right now based off of momentum. Soriano moved down to welterweight a couple fights ago, and he looks like a bit of a redefined fighter.
Yeah, I agree.
He just seems more like he's got a better game plan right now. He's exploiting his opponent's weaknesses. We saw him in his first fight down at welterweight just drag who was he fighting in that? Miguel Baeza. He dragged Baeza down to the ground.
Yep.
He made it ugly. And then he knew Uros Medic is down for a brawl and leaves his hands low and then just knocked him out with one clean shot. 𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗪𝗪, he has one win in the UFC, and it was a really, really sloppy fight with Francisco Prado that could have gone either way. I just think with the momentum at this point, Soriano should probably be a pretty hefty favorite, and I see him getting this one done.
I just could see him getting hurt. That's why I could see him getting hurt at one point in the fight and then coming back. That's what I'm saying. I sometimes I look at the odds and I try to find a way to go like, hey, is there a spot in which the guy can get hurt and I can live bet it? I just don't love 𝗦𝗣𝗢𝗟𝗍 at -300. I never like him at -300 because then again his performance have just been spotty. But again, we'll talk more about that. One fight I want to talk about you, 𝗦𝗣𝗢𝗪. He's the underdog in this fight against Austin Vanderford, and by a large margin, plus 235. I don't agree with this. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's closer than the odds say. I think it should probably be more in that like -150, -160 kind of range. I think the problem with 𝗦𝗣𝗢𝗪 is that he's just a bit inconsistent throughout his career so far. It's tough to really know what version of him you're going to get.
But
right
Austin
now,
Vanderford.
Yeah, Austin Vanderford, what is he? He's 1-0 in the UFC, I think.
Yeah,
He beat
let me double check that. Keep going.
I know he beat 𝗫𝗫𝗪 in his last fight. But I think for me, the reason I ended up siding with Vanderford in this one is because just he's looked good in the other non-UFC promotions. In Bellator, like he was good in those higher level regional promotions. While 𝗀𝗓𝗪 is just a bit inconsistent. If he builds off this 2-fight momentum, with Vanderford entering his mid to late 30s at this point, I mean, there's always a chance that the upset can happen in a fight like this. But I just think they both want to get this fight to the ground, but 𝗀𝗓𝗪 is going to be more willing to be on his back than Vanderford is. And so that's why I just took Vanderford by decision in this one.
I can respect that. Here's another fight I want to talk about. Patchy Mix, man. Patchy Mix taking on Jacob. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I've been trying to pronounce it all week. I think Patchy Mix wins this fight by finish. I think he wins this fight by finish, and I think he announces himself in the UFC. I'll be honest with you, Evan and Daniel. The submission is probably the obvious play at +185 for Patchy Mix. But I'm having a hard time steering away from the line, right? We should have the Patreon QR code up there too as well. I'm having a hard time steering away from the line of Patchy Mix winning this fight by knockout. And what I mean by knockout, I can see him winning this fight by TKO ground and pound.
Yeah.
The reason why I can see that, the reason why I'm flirting with the idea is sitting at +950.
Wow.
It's sitting at +950. And everyone's expecting Patchy Mix to win this fight by submission. But we also know Patchy Mix has the ability to also hurt people. We've seen it before. I don't know, man. Danny, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I'm always of the belief that, especially with these, newer guys to the UFC, that you got to go. I like the veteran Patchy Mix in this, and I think him by finish. I mean, when you look at his opponent, I believe all 3 of his losses have come by finish. For sure, I would definitely take the finish, and I do think that there's a chance that he could go out and get a TKO.
Here's the reason why I'm so bullish on the finish. His opponent, his 2 losses have been by knockout. His opponent's really good on the ground. He's 10-1, right? He's had 10 victories, only had 1 loss via submission. It seems that the path of least resistance for Patchy is to, if we're going to talk about a finish, is probably knocking this guy out. And whether that be on the ground, TKO, ground and pound, maybe Patchy will take pride in submitting this dude too as well. But I don't know. Evan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on this one. I love this fight. When I wrote on this for my prelim predictions, I thought this should be the featured prelim. I've seen Jakub, I think it's 𝗦𝗪𝗡𝗪 come up before.
Yeah, I was not pronouncing that.
I have Patchy Mix in this fight, and I'm pretty confident on it just because I saw when I was watching stuff on 𝗦𝗪𝗡𝗪, he has this tendency to kind of like overthrow when he starts to feel maybe it's starting to tend his way.
Yeah.
And Mix is not someone you want to overthrow in front of, which is something Mario Bautista did really well. He kept it clean. He kept just picking at him throughout the entire fight and kind of embarrassed Mix in his UFC debut.
Yeah.
But I don't hold 𝗦𝗪𝗡𝗪 at the same regard as Mario Bautista. I mean, Mario Bautista is about to fight Umar Nurmagomedov in a couple weeks. So I just think that this is at some point 𝗦𝗪𝗡𝗪 is going to overthrow here and the fight's going to get taken to the mat. Whether it's a submission because Patchy Mix is just that good on the ground or ground and pound TKO, I totally agree. I think this fight ends at some point by finish in favor of Patchy Mix.
I agree, man. I agree. And Dan, anything else you want to add on that?
On that, no, I agree with that. I think even when I was watching that fight too, it was like at the end of that fight, Mick started getting going a little bit. And that's something where when you look at a fighter who's faced the caliber of Mario Bautista and you take this huge step down, a lot of times it's like he'll step in there and it's a completely different world. And a lot of it is confidence. And I like Patchy Mix to get a finish. I believe that's plus 130 just to get a finish. So I like that.
Okay, do we see any finishing upside on Farid Basharat taking on Chris Gutierrez, or do we think that's a decision?
Personally, I think it's a decision. Just because Chris Gutierrez he's been around the block a few times at this point in the UFC. He's no slouch. He's no pushover. I honestly don't love the line at minus 460 for Farid Basharat. I think that's a little wide.
Yeah.
I have Farid Basharat winning, but I mean, the guy fought his last fight against Victor Hugo. That's not Chris Gutierrez.
Exactly. The leg kicks of Chris, you got to watch out for.
So,
you do. I mean, you have to watch out for Chris Gutierrez leg kicks. I do think that eventually Basharat's going to get this one on the ground, and I think that's where it stays for the majority of the fight. But I don't think he has enough to ground and pound TKO or submit Gutierrez.
All right, let's talk about Abus Magomedov taking on Joe Pyfer. Everyone is going on with Joe Pyfer this fight for good reason too, right? Joe's a tough out. He's just a brute force of a man. And I feel like Abus sometimes is scared to kind of engage. I could see Abus trying to take this fight to the ground to survive. What are your thoughts on this fight, Evan and Daniel?
I have Joe Pyfer in this one, like most do. I'm not. I guess I'm just not as excited about this fight as a lot of people are. Neither of these two are super like standout prospects to me. Pyfer more than Magomedov. I mean, Magomedov's 35. He's got some clear weaknesses. He's got a bad gas tank. That fight he just had with Michel Pereira was bad. Like it was a really bad fight. It was just a slog of a fight. Pyfer, I mean, he also just coming off a win against Kelvin Gastelum, and that fight was not super entertaining, but I just saw more out of Pyfer in that than I did of Magomedov against Pereira. I almost think that this could be where Magomedov tries to go back to what made him what he was when he first came into the UFC, which is just like I'm going to go all out round one, try and find a finish. And if he does that, I just think he's going to get caught by Pyfer. He's been caught in the past. I think this could be a weird, like slow fight for like 2 minutes, and then Pyfer catches him with like a clean right hand that knocks him out.
I could totally see that. Could totally see that. Daniel?
Yeah, this is very simple for me, and this may sound a little disrespectful, but I remember, and this is just burning in my head. I remember his fight against Sean Strickland, and I remember a guy who in the second round clearly didn't look like he wanted to be there. And then you go and he faced Caio Borralho, I believe, and he lost the decision there.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember that Strickland fight, and obviously he's on a 3-fight win streak, but it was a terrible look. And I think that the way Pyfer looked against a guy like Kelvin Gastelum is not everybody. Gastelum is literally one of a kind. He's got a granite chin, and that was a fight where Pyfer was rocking Gastelum, but he stayed there, and I just don't believe that Magomedov is of the caliber of a Gastelum, and I just don't see a world where Magomedov really wins this fight. I'm a big fan of Pyfer in this fight, and I think Pyfer comes out in a big way and wins this fight. So yeah,
it's gonna be interesting for sure. Want to keep the conversation rolling. Josh Emmett taking on Youssef Zalal. Guys, I'm kind of torn in this fight. I understand why people are high on Youssef Zalal. Youssef Zalal was a guy that had a lot of hype. He left the UFC, and then he came back, and now his comeback has been great. But I don't agree with the minus 500 on Youssef Zalal versus Josh Emmett, who's literally made a career off of turning back the clock on all these guys that they are just supposed to be the guy that beats him and takes the next step. I think it's going to be a dogfight. I don't think that Youssef Zalal is going to look like a minus 500.
I think I kind of disagree with that on this one.
Sure.
I think, and it's not as much because I love Youssef Zalal as like a future title challenger. I think there's a reason he was on a 3-fight losing skid in the UFC. He looks better now, but some of that doesn't really go away.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is I think this might be the end of Josh Emmett. And I'm a big Josh Emmett fan. I think he's had a great career. But I think this is an awful stylistic matchup for him. I think that
I agree.
this
The
this is a
footwork is
lot.
crazy.
Yeah, this is like, I think Zalal just has to look at what Lerone Murphy did, and honestly, I think he could do it better in the sense of like just evading everything, and just using his range against a shorter featherweight like Emmett. He's got to watch for Emmett's offensive wrestling and that overhand right or overhand left that he just throws here and there. But I think this could be kind of an ugly fight for Emmett. I think he's going to get picked apart from the outside the entire time. And hopefully he just doesn't take too much damage in this. But I think this is going to be a pretty one-sided decision win for Yusuf Zalal.
For sure, for sure. All right, we'll do a speed through the next couple of fights. J.R. Prochazka taking on Khalil Roundtree. I don't know where this fight goes. I feel like Khalil Roundtree is emerging. I know Jerry had flirted with the idea of moving down to middleweight, but now he's not. He's at light heavy. It's been weird. What are your thoughts?
I love this fight just from an entertainment sake.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like anytime Jdri Prochazka steps in the octagon, it's just entertainment. And I really like him to win this one.
Really? Okay.
I like Khalil, but I think this is another bad stylistic matchup for him. Khalil struggles when people are pushing him back. I think when Pereira was tentative in their fight, but Pereira and Roundtree was able to win those first 2 rounds because Pereira really wasn't offering much in return. And then when Pereira did offer a lot in return, he got pushed out of that fight. Jdri Prochazka is not going to let Khalil Roundtree sit back, throw leg kicks and body kicks, and work Jdri down. Jdri's going to come right as fast as he can and go right at Khalil Roundtree. I think this is going to be a war for as long as it lasts. And I think it's going to look a lot like Jdri Prochazka versus Jamal Hill. I think Jdri's going to find a finish in this one later, like round 2 or round 3 TKO.
I think you're sleeping on Khalil Roundtree. I think Khalil Roundtree is he's taking a step forward in his career. I think he can beat Jdri. I think Jdri's at a point where he doesn't know what to do. I think he's genuinely at a point where he does not know what to do or what's left. And I think that's why he talked about idea going down to middleweight and exciting fights he had down there. And I think we see Khalil Roundtree win this fight. I do. I think Khalil Roundtree is going to beat Jdri Prochazka. You know, you think about Jdri going to get his going to school and doing all this extra. It just doesn't seem like we're still seeing that same warrior mentality. He says he only went to school, not for the accomplishment, but for his brain, just to train his brain, because as a fighter, he needs to, like, that's insane to say. But I'm not buying into the act anymore. I think Jdri loses this fight against Khalil Roundtree because I just think Khalil Roundtree is on the upward trajectory. But it wouldn't surprise me if Jdri won this fight, but I just don't think, I think the breaking point that we've seen in Khalil Roundtree in the past, I think Alex Pereira brought that dog out of him, and I don't think he's turning back. I think he knew if he can withstand Alex, he can withstand anyone. And I just don't think Jdri's going to bring anything, honestly speaking. And to be honest with you, the fight with Jdri and Jamal was pretty close too, because they both fought very, very sloppy. And I just think Jdri's style is extremely sloppy. And I think Khalil Roundtree sitting back, being patient, plodding forward, timing Jdri is going to work in his benefit. And I just think that he has the power to put Jdri's lights out and hurt Jdri in a bad way. What are your thoughts, Daniel?
Yeah, I'm on Roundtree here, and I agree with what Evan said about Roundtree looking off when somebody pressures him. I think that'll just end up playing in Roundtree's favor. The way I look at this, for sure, odds-wise, I think this is a lot closer fight. This is going to be a stand-up fight. These are 2 exceptional strikers. And when I compare the fights, I look at how Jdri looked in the Hill fight. Hill had his moments. I look at how Jdri looked in his last Pereira fight, as well as I look at how Jdri looked in that Rakic fight. Rakic had some moments in that fight. So I'm going with Roundtree.
For sure. Keeping the conversation rolling. Going to move on over to Merab Dvalishvili taking on Corey Sandhagen. I'm going to keep this very, very brief. Evan, what are your thoughts? How do you think this plays out?
I did a whole piece on Merab this week. I don't think there's anybody at bantamweight right now that is going to beat Merab Dvalishvili. I think this is going to be the typical. I mean, this is just a typical Merab fight. Corey's been a perennial contender, but I mean, we saw exactly how this is going to go against Umar. Umar was able to get him down and keep dragging him down. And I think Merab just does that better. And I think that's exactly how this fight's going to go. Very typical one-sided Merab title defense here. I have nothing else on this fight.
Yeah, I agree. I think Merab wins. Daniel, do you agree with this? Okay.
I think Merab wins. I think he does. Sandhagen has he's got some stuff in his bag, man. And the issue I have, and the reason why I will side with Merab, is because of the confidence. He's at an all-time high. He has just dominated Sean O'Malley. He just took out Umar Nurmagomedov. He's at an all-time high. But I'm also not going to act like this guy has never been clipped before. And I think that if there's one way to defeat Merab, is you have to have the cardio and you have to have the scrambling ability for 5 rounds. And I think Corey is scrappy enough, and I think he's got the cardio. And I really was impressed with his ground game, you know, in his last fight, obviously against Davis and Figueiredo. I think he's going to be able to get up from Merab, and I'm pretty confident saying that. And I think that he is going to pose a problem for Merab. So I think Merab is probably the smart side, and I don't know if there's a betting angle to this, but I think that Sandhagen could have some good moments in this fight.
Do we think? Weirdly enough, I think that Merab could get a finish this fight, but I also think Corey Sandhagen can get a finish. I think that
I like
Merab's at a point where he's trying to go for finishes. He's trying to prove that, hey, I can do more, and I see this fight ending in a finish somehow.
Yep.
I think if you're looking at, if you want to bet on FanDuel, both of these guys' props are really priced really good. If you want Merab to win this fight via KO or submission, that's sitting at plus 470. If you think Corey Sandhagen can pull a trick out his back, because I thankfully think he could have Merab in trouble at some point in this fight. I could see him cutting Merab with a knee up the middle or something like that. But even that's sitting at like plus 650. Like, you know what I mean? Like, these are very good odds. And then obviously you can go with the boring thing. And like, well, Merab wins this fight via points, which is sitting at minus 195, which is could be expected, right? If you think Corey Sandhagen wins via points, is sitting at plus 650. I just think Corey Sandhagen has rounded out his game to such a big point that where he can survive. I don't believe Merab is this great wrestler. I think he just has this incredible pace where he can keep taking you down over and over again. But I do think this fight is going to play out at points on the feet. And I think when the fight is playing out on the feet, I think Corey Sandhagen could get the best of him. This fight is going to be very interesting, man. Either way you slice it. But man, I don't know.
Merab also said, like, not that this matters, but it's like, I'm going to be fighting until I'm 40. I don't, with or without the belt, or until I'm 50, with or without the belt. Like,
I probably won't be champion. That's what he said.
Like, and this is always how it goes. I don't know, man.
I always tell you about that stories. Their storylines, right? When guys reach their storylines, what's next? Merab's storyline was avenging Aljo, getting the belt. He's done that. Corey Sandhagen has always been the dark horse in the division. He's always been the dark horse in the division. He's always been super close, but the title shot has always evaded him. Now he's got it here. Now let's talk about the main event. Alex Pereira taking on Magomed Ankalaev. Guys, and I see this fight playing out one way. One of two ways, I'm sorry. I see Ankalaev winning this fight by knockout, or Alex winning this fight via knockout or by points. That's what I think happens in this fight. I saw enough in watching this fight multiple times this week to feel confident enough that Alex is really well in rematches. I just feel like Alex is going to have answers for Magomed Ankalaev, and this fight is going to take place on the feet majority, and they're going to come clashing. I think this is a finish either way, though. What are your thoughts, Evan?
Yeah, I mean, you just mentioned it about a minute ago, and that's that every fight has storylines. I've heard it from you before, and I looked into this one, and it's just, to me, the storyline does not favor Alex Pereira in this fight.
Really? See, I think it does. I think it's over for Magomed. Magomed's storyline was he wanted to prove that he could win the UFC belt. He's done that. He's a boring champion. No one gets excited for him. He's proven he could beat Alex, right? Because that was his whole thing. I could beat Alex. I could beat Alex. I could beat Alex. Big Onk, gonna big dunk, big onk, whatever. Like, he's proven all that. What's the next storyline? Well, the storyline is shaping up right before our very own eyes, and I don't think you two even realized it. The next storyline is Alex moving up to heavyweight. And I think the seeds have already been planted for Alex Pereira versus Tom Aspinall. I think the seeds have already been planted for it. The question is, will it take place with Alex as light heavyweight champion going for double champ status or not? Let me tell you this right now, though. If Alex Pereira wins this fight, he has two big fights he could go after. He can go after the Tom Aspinall fight, or he could go after the John Jones fight. Both of those fights sell big. I think Alex beats Onk, man. I think Alex beats Onk. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, man, you stole my thunder on this one. Just with the Alex moving up to heavyweight, and I think I just read it a different way than you did here. I think Alex, the way he's talking about moving up to heavyweight, I think he's got his sights already set there. And heavyweight is such a weak division right now that I don't think even if Pereira loses this fight, that they won't give him the title shot.
I disagree. You have my man up there, man. What's his name? What's his face? You have what's the dude's name, Daniel? The man, it's gonna come to me too. A Brazilian guy, Jailton Almeida. You have Jailton Almeida. I disagree with that, man. I think you have guys up here who are you have guys up here who can challenge. Jailton Almeida is a dude who you can't keep passing him over. We can't keep passing him over. And John Jones, any storyline is going to start with John Jones, Jailton Almeida getting title shot before Alex Pereira, in my opinion, unless Tom calls for that fight. And they call for that fight. But it only makes sense if Alex beats Ankh. Because then, like he said, he doesn't want to be a bully. And Alex kind of thwarted the idea of going up to heavyweight, at least in press conference recently. He was like, hey, I just want to focus on 𝗦𝗡𝗦𝗢𝗏 𝗦𝗡𝗢𝗏, and then we'll go from there. I think he beats 𝗦𝗡𝗦𝗢𝗏, man. Because hear me out. If Alex was actually compromised, and apparently Joe Rogan talked about it, Daniel Cormier talked, he actually was compromised from an illness and an injury going into that fight. I forgot what they said the injury was, but I think it was a foot or something like that. If that's what we got for Alex, he still made it competitive, especially in the later rounds. Like, I don't know, man. I saw that first round a little bit differently than everybody else. I saw him beating up on it, like on 𝗦𝗡𝗦𝗢𝗏, or at least picking him apart a little bit, getting him a little bit frustrated with the leg kicks, or got his leg reddened really, really fast. And then 𝗦𝗡𝗦𝗏 coaches had to tell him, hey, push. You're still in. And then the second round, he comes out and he pushes forward. And like, I don't know, man. I just think that fight was close enough for if an injury or a sickness were the ailments for Alex Pereira. What is this version going to look like of Alex, who's extremely healthy? And think about it. Everything Alex has said he's going to do in the UFC, he has done, man. He has done. 𝗦𝗡𝗦𝗏 is not a guy that loves to wrestle. I do rate his striking. He was able to hurt Alex with that 1-2 down the middle, and I'm always going to be worried about a 1-2 hurting Alex Pereira. It is something that has hurt him throughout his entire career. But outside of that, I think he can find the finish. I think he can find 𝗦𝗡𝗦𝗏's chin, and it wouldn't shock me, man. This feels like when everybody was doubting him against Jerry. That's what this feels like. What are your thoughts, though?
I mean, I'm sticking with 𝗦𝗡𝗦𝗏 to win the fight, but I hope I'm absolutely wrong on this. I love Alex Pereira. I'm rocking the Alex Pereira shirt today, but
Traitor.
I don't like the line at all. I thought watching when I like to look at the fights, and before I see the line, like to think about what the line could be. I think when the line closed on the first fight, I think Ankalaev may have ended at -120. That fight was really close. I just anticipated that mixed with the Pereira was ill, Pereira was hurt, that maybe Ankalaev would be like -150 going into this fight. And I think that's a lot better of a line. 𝗦𝗡𝗦𝗏 Ankalaev at -265 is just unreasonable. I won't bet on Ankalaev to win this fight. If I'm going to bet on this fight, I'm going to bet Pereira to win, and I'm probably going to bet him to win it by knockout. But I'm going to stick with the straight pick of 𝗦𝗡𝗦𝗏 Ankalaev, but I really hope I'm wrong.
Daniel?
Yeah, man. I see it both ways. I really don't know what to pick. I think the thing I'm trying to get over is how and the preparation. Once again, we don't see these guys train, but it seems like the up and up, the guy who's on the up is 𝗦𝗡𝗦𝗏 Ankalaev versus Alex Pereira, who is out here doing a lot, man. And that's what I'm concerned, because I think that it's very clear that 𝗦𝗡𝗦𝗏, he was trying to get to the championship, and he, got that, and he acquired that. And I think him at 33 years old, I think 𝗦𝗡𝗦𝗏 still got a lot to gain in the UFC. And I just think that for a guy in their first fight who looked like he surprised Alex looked flustered in there after the first round. Alex looked shocked that he couldn't land his, his jab. He looked like he couldn't land to the head, and that was the biggest concern. So, albeit it wasn't a dominant performance by 𝗦𝗡𝗦𝗏 Ankalaev, I think that you hit the nail on the head, Malik. I think that we do see a finish, and if I had to guess, I think that we probably see a finish of 𝗦𝗡𝗦𝗏 Ankalaev. I think 𝗦𝗡𝗦𝗏 finishes Alex Pereira. The only way is Alex has to go in there and he's got to earn his respect, because I don't think Alex earned Magomed's respect in there. And I don't think that Magomed felt any fear outside of the leg kick, to be honest. And I think that is also a recipe for success for Alex, because Magomed's coming in there confident. But I think the champion gets better, and I'm picking 𝗦𝗡𝗥𝗕𝗦𝗢𝗡 to be Alex Bra.
All right. So I'm a lone wolf here on this one. Shama. That's what I'm going with. Shama. But anyway, thank you guys, man. Thank you, Evan, man. I appreciate you, brother. I'm sure we'll be texting. I'm sure you'll be gloating if you're victorious against me, man. But we got to get you down here for a game here. I mean, not a game, but a UFC event here shortly. You got to make that happen. So appreciate Ev. Make sure you guys give him a follow. He's a great follow on social media. And we'll be talking here soon, Ev.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
You too, man. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to another episode of the Sit Down Morning Show with Malik Wright, presented by the Right Way Sports Network. Listen, we're live every single Monday, Thursday, Friday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. The State of the Jungle is live at 7 p.m. on Wednesdays. And our Bengals recap shows live directly after the game. It doesn't matter if it's a Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, or a Sunday like it is this week. Remember, my one-on-one exclusive interview with Bengals first-round draft pick, defensive end Shamar Stewart, is going live today on the YouTube channel at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm excited for you guys to see it. I'm pumped up for you guys to tune into it as well. Remember, there's only one way you should be waking up, talking sports, watching sports, and having debates, and that is the right way. We'll see you guys next time.
This is 𝗕𝗘𝗧𝗏. You ain't heard about us yet. Well, you